Subject of wake boat damage to aquatic environments has been brought up recently. And what you need to understand is because of the manner in which wake boats are constructed, their wake or their wash from their propeller goes down at about a 40-degree angle versus an outboard which is at 5 to 10 degrees from horizontal. And it's been shown that they have the ability to stir up sediments on the bottom down to a 20 feet in depth. Most lakes in Wisconsin have a mean depth of not much more than 20 feet in depth. So Winnebago has a mean depth of 11 feet, for instance. Most of your flowages in the state of Wisconsin have very minimal mean depths. And what happens is when the sediment's stirred up on the bottom, the vegetation that's down there the sediments come up in the water column, and these are microfine particles of vegetation, decayed vegetation, and in some cases inorganic material like mud or whatever that's been washed into the stream. But it gets washed up into the water column, and then it settles down on top of these plants on the bottom. And plants need photosynthesis to survive. And when they get coated with this upset sediment that's been washed up from off the bottom, their ability to photosynthesize and survive is very much diminished. So you'll get areas of vegetation in a lake that actually becomes completely void of vegetation because of this if you have repeated applications. The other problem that you have is when these sediments get washed up into the water column, they also block sunlight from coming down because they filter out the sunlight. So we're in some lakes where you had or may have vegetation as deep as 20 feet. Now your vegetation is going to be not forced, but your vegetation is going to be moving to shallower water rather than having deep water vegetation because it gets the sunlight can't get to the bottom like it did before, and B, it gets coated with this material that's washed up from the wash of these kinds of boats. I always ask people what eats a half-inch long fish in a lake. Basically, it's every other fish that's bigger than a half-inch long eats a half-inch long fish. These little fish on an annual basis need a place to hide. And when the wake boats start destroying the vegetation on the bottom, small fish don't have a place to hide. And what you eventually do over a period of years is you will reduce the population of fish in a lake just by virtue of the destruction of the native and non-native vegetation that's in a given lake.